She was never taught how to be strong, she was only taught how to survive, and yet every morning she rose like the sun, not because life was gentle, but because her soul refused to surrender. The world saw her silence, and mistook it for weakness, but inside her silence lived oceans of courage, storms of patience, and a heart that had learned how to beat even when it was breaking. She carried scars that never showed on skin, scars made of words that cut deeper than blades, scars made of abandonment, betrayal, and nights where she cried so quietly even the walls could not hear her. She was a woman who learned early that love does not always come with safety, that trust can feel like standing barefoot on broken glass, and that hope sometimes feels heavier than despair. Yet she still chose to hope, she still chose to love, she still chose to believe even when belief had failed her 1,000 times. They tried to define her by what she endured, by what she lost, by how many times she fell, but they never understood that her power was not in never falling, her power was in rising every single time. She was told to be patient when patience was draining her soul, told to stay silent when silence was killing her spirit, told to endure because endurance was considered virtue for women, but no one asked her how heavy endurance feels when it becomes a lifetime sentence, and yet she endured not because she was weak, but because she was gathering strength, quietly, slowly building herself piece by piece in the dark. Unbroken women are not born, they are forged in fire, shaped by disappointment, hardened by reality, and softened by compassion. They know pain intimately, they sit with it, they listen to it, and then they transform it into wisdom. They understand the language of loss, but they also understand the language of survival. They know how to keep going when the world gives them every reason to stop. She has been the strong one for everyone else, the one who listens, who heals, who supports, who holds the family together. While her own heart trembles in exhaustion, she has smiled through tears, nodded through disrespect, and swallowed words that deserved to be spoken, because she knew sometimes peace costs silence, and sometimes survival costs pride. But do not mistake her kindness for fragility, do not mistake her patience for permission, and never mistake her silence for surrender, because an unbroken woman knows exactly who she is even when the world tries to convince her otherwise. She knows her worth even when she accepts less, she knows her power even when she chooses gentleness. She has lived through nights where sleep never came, nights filled with questions that had no answers and prayers that felt like they disappeared into the ceiling. She has begged for strength when she had none left, and somehow strength found her anyway, not loud, not dramatic, but steady like a quiet heartbeat, reminding her she was still alive. An unbroken woman carries generations within her, the prayers of her mother, the sacrifices of her grandmother, the dreams that were buried before they could bloom. She walks with the weight of history on her shoulders, and still finds a way to stand tall. She becomes the hope that previous women never had, the voice they were denied, the freedom they were never given. She has been underestimated, dismissed, and overlooked, but she learned how to trust her own voice when no one else listened. She learned how to hold herself when no one else stayed. She learned how to choose herself without guilt, even after being taught that self-sacrifice was the only way to be loved. Her tears are not a sign of defeat, they are proof of feeling deeply, of loving fiercely, of caring despite being hurt. Again and again she cries because she feels, and she feels because her heart is still alive. Unbroken women feel everything and still move forward. She has learned that healing is not linear, that strength does not always look like confidence. Sometimes strength looks like getting out of bed, sometimes it looks like saying no, sometimes it looks like walking away, and sometimes it looks like staying and trying one more time. Unbroken women know that beauty is not perfection, beauty is resilience, beauty is softness that survives in a hard world, beauty is choosing compassion in a world that rewards cruelty, beauty is rising without applause and loving without guarantees. She has faced judgment from those who never walked her path, criticism from those who never carried her burdens, and expectations that ignored her humanity, but she learned that not everyone deserves access to her energy, her story, or her heart. An unbroken woman understands that self-respect is louder than approval, and that peace is more valuable than being understood. She releases what no longer serves her even when it hurts, because she knows holding on hurts more. She has rebuilt herself so many times, she lost count, reinvented her dreams, adjusted her expectations, and still found a way to believe again. She has stood in the ruins of her life and decided to plant flowers there. She knows loneliness intimately, she has felt alone even in crowded rooms, alone in relationships, alone in places where she was supposed to feel safe, but loneliness taught her how to become her own companion, her own protector, her own home. Unbroken women are gentle but not naive, loving but not blind, trusting but not careless. They have learned from pain without letting pain define them. They choose growth over bitterness even when bitterness would be easier. She has learned that her value does not decrease because someone failed to see it, that her worth is not negotiable, and that being chosen by herself is the most powerful choice she will ever make. An unbroken woman does not seek validation, she seeks alignment. She does not chase love, she attracts respect. She does not beg for space, she creates boundaries and stands firm within them. She honors her emotions without letting them control her. She allows herself to feel without drowning. She allows herself to rest without guilt, and she allows herself to dream without apology. She understands that strength and softness can coexist, that courage can be quiet, and that resilience can be gentle. She knows that being unbroken does not mean being untouched, it means being transformed. She carries light even when she has walked through darkness. She becomes a safe place for others, because she knows what it feels like to have none. She uplifts, because she remembers being unseen. She listens, because she remembers being unheard. Unbroken women change the world not by force, but by presence, not by domination, but by example. They show what it means to survive with grace, to heal with intention, and to love with wisdom. She is still becoming, still learning, still growing, and that is her power. She does not pretend to have it all figured out, she simply refuses to give up. She is proof that pain can produce purpose, that brokenness can lead to beauty, and that even after everything she has endured, her heart still beats with hope. She is an unbroken woman not because life spared her, but because she chose herself every